Hey guys, and welcome to Ozzie Reviews. Welcome to March Q A. So we'll start off with what's new at Ozzie Reviews. Now, because at the time of doing this video, it's very early April 2022, have a guess what that is? 10 years I've been doing Ozzie Reviews. I mean, wow, it's been a struggle at times, I can assure you, because the amount of time that I've sacrificed to be able to do the channel and bring the reviews to you completely free has been a mountain of work, a ton of money put into it, and just a whole lot of sacrifices in general. So guys, I will probably be trying to organise, we'll see how it goes, later on in this year, another get-together, Ozzie Reviews get-together. So we've just got to wait on a couple of approvals at the moment, okay? So I'm trying to plan something a little bit bigger, but keep an eye out for that. I'll just take this time just to, you know, I guess reflect briefly, and I want to thank a lot of you who have been there since the very start. You know, there's a lot of you who had followed me from day one. When I put the word out to meet with politicians, you guys are there. You all know who you are. You're there without fail. You know, I appreciate the hell out of it. You guys have stood by me through thick and thin, and you know, I really do appreciate it. So you know, we've had a busy 10 years. That's probably the best way to put it. You know, constantly trying to you know, juggle everything. You know, it's very difficult for me at times because, you know, it's not my only job doing the reviews, as you guys know. So I've got a lot of obligations, and you know, a lot of the time when I just want to put my feet up and have a break, I can't, because I've got reviews to do. And you know, I'm proud to say that I've brought, you know, over 500 reviews to you guys completely free over the last 10 years. And I tell you, when I do run into you know, different guys out there, whether it be just, you know, out at a local pub or, you know, just in general. I mean, you know, I was doing some shopping the other day and had a guy come up and chat and thank me for doing the reviews. And, you know, I appreciate all that sort of thing, and it keeps me going. Especially when I get young shooters who, you know, say to me they've been following me since they were in high school, and now they're an adult, they're, you know, they're purchasing their first 22 and all that sort of thing, and they've used the information that I've given them, you know, to choose wisely and make a good purchase. So all that sort of thing, you know, just means a hell of a lot to me. However, the one negative, I guess, that comes with it all, guys, is everyone out there, you know, expects you to be able to give you their time completely free. Now, I've put hours and hours of time into doing these videos completely free, so that you guys at home get to see exactly how a product performs at the time. I've even done videos on, you know, importing. I've done videos on feral pest control. I've done videos on collector licenses, etc., etc. So guys, I don't know what it is, but it seems to be on the rise again, but I'm getting hammered with messages, and I'm not talking about via Patreon. I'm talking about just in general. Please understand that I cannot get back to every single one of you unless you are a member of Patreon. And why I've put it to that is because I need to be compensated for my time, because I can assure you the amount of questions that come in just generally for me, I would be here from the moment I wake up in the morning to the moment I go to sleep of a night, just answering questions. And unfortunately, when it comes time to pay the rates on the farm, I can't turn around to the council and say, well, look, I've been helping people for free every day. Like, can't you cut me a bit of slack? They're just going to look at me and laugh. So guys, unfortunately, I have to limit it to those of you out there who will support me via Patreon. I'll be able to help you out with your questions from there, okay? Other than that, my videos are completely free for you to watch. I've never asked anything for it. So just go ahead and watch them. It's got virtually all the information in it you could possibly need. I get so many questions that really I've answered in numerous videos. So just search through the videos and you'll most probably find the answer. If not, then the Patreon is the only other option if you want to proceed further and get personalized help from me. So I hope you guys understand that. So what else have we got new here? Now I've got the brand new, okay, now this has come by popular demand, the brand new Ozzie Reviews Generation 2 shotgun bag. Now, I wasn't going to get any more of these made up, but I tell you, I've had a number of emails about it now, and what I've done, so it's just like the older one. So we've got the carry handle at the top, we've got the shoulder strap, we've got the you know, quick release buckles there. When you open it up, we've got the Australian wool. It's Australian oilskin on the outside. But what we've added here, and by suggestion from many of you guys, is a zip up pocket here so you can put your extra chokes in there. So, and a choke tool, that'll fit as well. So guys, I've got this. The price has gone up, my cost price, but I'm keeping it at the same sale price to you guys as the older model, which is $119, okay? So you can get these from OzzieReviews.com. Now, I'm only going to have 100 of them on pre-order. They're going to be due to land by the end of April, okay? So now that air shipping is back available, it's going to be a lot faster turnaround time. Also too, we're still running with the Gen 2 Ozzie Reviews rifle bag. Now, we've been out of stock on this for a while, but I've got another 100 of these available on the pre-order, also due to land later this month, okay? So late April 2022. We've got the newer handles on the Gen 2. We've got the oversized pocket on the outside so you can put a bolt, or if you want to put some ammo in there or magazine or whatever you want to put in there. Same deal. The Australian oilskin outer, we've got it lined, and there's the Australian wool on the inside there. We've also got a shoulder strap there. Now guys, I've had absolutely 100% positive feedback with these bags. You know, they're just not cheap Chinese material. These are all Australian made materials. As I've said previously, the company here own the assembly factory in Fiji, where the material gets shipped to, assembled, shipped back to Australia, and then to me so I can send it out to you. So they are very, very high quality. And honestly, I mean, obviously I'm using them myself, and I just feel that they're a really great product because I have had that 100% positive feedback on them. So if you want one of them, guys, same thing. The price for me has gone up now. However, I'm keeping it at the same price for you guys, which is $99. Simple as that. So 100 of them are available from OzzieReviews.com or .com.au, whichever you want to go to, and you can go to the web store there and lock one in. So both the rifle bag and the shotgun bag are going to be delivered to me, I'm told, late April. So we've only got a few weeks of turnaround really. So yeah, jump on them because I'm sure they'll go out pretty quickly. Okay, so let's start off with our first question for the month, okay? I've got Aaron here. He's asking, what is your go-to rifle shooting rest, both front and rear shooting rest for target shooting? Well, Aaron, most people know that I'm not a crazy bench rest shooter by any means. I just use the one that I've got in my reviews, and that's the Cardwell Rock. Okay, I think it's a DLX, the exact brand. And look, it's cheap. I mean, look, it's made in China. It does the job. I mean, geez, honestly, you could probably fill up a sock with sand and have a similar sort of performance, you know, but it depends on what you want to spend. There are some really Gucci ones out there, but you know, for me, honestly, mate, it just works. It does the trick, so that's all that I use. Now, next question we got here is from Chiller, and he asks quite a few questions here that are related to the US and their firearm laws, but I'm happy to answer them. So guys, if you're sort of wondering if they sound a bit strange here, it is tailored a lot towards the US, but we have some applicable questions to the Australian shooting community as well. So his first question here is, Ozzie, can you give me a summary of good news regarding our gun rights for the past 5 years? No. The next question he's got here is, what's your thoughts on no weapons allowed signs and gun-free zones? Now, obviously, this is applicable to the US. Mate, I think it's pointless because as if criminals obey gun-free zone signs. It's as simple as that, they don't. Next question you got here is thoughts on pardoning ex-cons with violent crime to be able to possess a firearm. Now guys, if you're unfamiliar with this, I mean the mainstream media certainly won't tell you this here in Australia because they'd like you to believe that everyone in the US has a right to bear arms no matter who you are, which couldn't be further from the truth. So if you're a convicted felon in the US, you're prohibited from owning a firearm. You lose your Second Amendment rights. So there are some cases where they're trying to push for, you know, people who have previously had those felony convictions or criminal convictions, as we call them here in Australia, to be able to possess a firearm. Now, I'm of two thoughts with that, mate. I mean, if they've got a history of violence, I mean, even when they're in prison, they're quite violent there and they've done their time and then they're released. Well, if they're a risk, I don't believe that they should have the right to possess a firearm. If, however, you know, they've done something silly, they've gone to prison, and then, say for example, they come out of prison. Now, it could be an assault, okay? Say they got into a fight one night at a bar, hypothetically, and they punched someone and they caused some pretty serious injury to that person, and they subsequently, you know, did some prison time there. Now, if they come out of prison and, for example, okay, hypothetically, they've gone 10 years, they're married, they're raising children, they've got a respectable job, you know, they haven't broken any laws, well, I think it's quite reasonable to reassess and have a look at their situation. So I think there's no blanket law for that. I think that each individual would have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Next question you got here is my thoughts on firearm sale waiting periods and rationing of firearms. Now, I know that's a big pushover in the States, and look, we've already got it here. I mean, there's a 28-day wait, you know, for your first firearm, and whether we like it or not, we've got the different firearms registries, you know, playing silly buggers with not issuing PTAs in a timely manner for subsequent firearms. So I just find that all completely pointless. I mean, like, to have scrutiny on getting, especially when you've already got firearms, such scrutiny on subsequent firearms, like, you're still a human being. You've got two hands. You can only use, what, 2 firearms at a time? So if you've got 5 firearms or 6 firearms, you've put in for a 7th firearm, what really does it matter? If you haven't broken any laws, you're of sound mind, what's the problem? Like, you want to get another firearm to suit another need that you've got, what's the issue? And that's what really annoys me with this sort of thing is, you know, it was never designed to be like that in the first place, but we always know we get sold the glossy brochure, or the cover of the glossy brochure, and to make it sound all innocent and everything, but then as time goes on, you see the true meaning of the different laws and policies that they put in place, in my view. Next question you got here is, what are my thoughts on personal private shooting ranges without a permit on your property? And do you also think it's okay to shoot guns without a permit on areas that are not your property, like national parks or the wilderness, for non-hunting purposes, like recreation, you know, or training? I find it pretty frustrating that people need to even apply for those sort of permits, you know, even with like public land, you know, shooting and hunting. I mean, there's already offences in place for private land, okay? So for example, if I'm here on my farm and I shoot and the projectile goes over onto a neighbouring property, you know, there's clearly an offence for that. So why do you then need to have permits and everything that cost money? So to me, they're just cashing in on it, and the laws are already there. And if people are that stupid and they break those laws, well, then there's consequences. Why does there have to be a permit system for that? So I disagree with that, and I agree that, you know, people should be able to go out into you know, remote areas and, you know, be able to shoot. Once again, it comes back to those firearm you know, safety points. Like, you know, you don't point the firearm in the direction of any other person or anything that you want to destroy, basically. Use common sense. You know, if you're in an area, make sure you've got a decent backstop, all those sort of things. Like, if you just follow those rules, you should be fine wherever you go. It's just common sense at the end of the day, and they could easily legislate to, you know, have the offences there for that if you were doing public land hunting, you know, and you misused or misbehaved in that setting. Next question you got here is, what are my thoughts on prohibiting the transportation and carry of guns that are loaded? Do you think that it's reasonable at all? Once again, mate, this is more tailored towards the US, where you would be carrying a firearm in a lot of circumstances for self-defense. Okay, that's not applicable here. The only people that can carry firearms here are obviously security guards, and then obviously, you know, police, and then we've got military, but even when they're in public, they're not carrying firearms here. So my thoughts on it, I just think, you know, it's pointless if it's in the US where you have a firearm for self-defense. You need that firearm loaded and ready to go should you require it for self-defense. You don't need to then scrounge around looking for a magazine to be able to defend yourself. If that was the case, you wouldn't see police walking around with a loaded firearm, would you? So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Next question you got here is, what are my thoughts on may issue and shall issue in the US? Now guys, if you don't understand this, in some US states they have a shall issue and a may issue. So in other words, a shall issue is they shall issue a permit for concealed carry, and then others are may, so it's open to scrutiny, okay? As far as I'm concerned, it should be a shall issue. Because in the US you do have the Second Amendment, and those people that are not prohibited under the Second Amendment to possess a firearm shall possess those firearms, in my view. Now the last question you got here is, culturally, does or do the police, weapons licensing branch and the military here in Australia respect us civilian gun owners and gun ownership? Look mate, I can only answer that as a licensed shooter, and look, I've been licensed here in Queensland since 1990, and that was before the 96 gun laws came in. So back then we had a credit card size license, didn't have your photo on it, and there was no expiry, and you could just use that, go in and purchase semi-autos, so you could buy semi-auto shotguns and rifles and all that sort of stuff. No issue, because to get the license there, obviously you had to be of sound mind, not have criminal history, etc, etc. So what are my thoughts on what they basically think? If you're talking about weapons licensing, I'm sorry, but I don't say anything positive about them at all. I just have seen so much mistrust from shooters, and them, I could seriously write a book on it. I've had them act completely unlawfully, and even when you put complaints in and everything, it just gets swept under the carpet. No one really wants to know. So yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in them, and they go well and truly above the legislation, in my view, to enact policy that is a sheer gun grabbing policy. They don't want to just follow the law. They want to bring in their own personal agenda and take firearms off as many shooters as possible. I could give you numerous examples of what's happened to me as a licensed shooter, which proves that point, and also numerous other licensed shooters that I know that have had some absolutely disgusting things pulled on them by members of weapons licensing. So in general, do they respect us? No, not at all. I mean, you speak to most licensed shooters. I mean, if you're just on an A and B license, yeah, you might not have too many troubles. You try to go for anything else though. Start doing like your H, your C, and especially your D, and you'll soon see the vindictiveness of them. So my view as a licensed shooter is no, they don't respect us at all. They treat you like an absolute subhuman member of the community, and yeah, I don't have any time for them, I'm sorry. But as for the military, well, the military don't really have anything to do with us as licensed shooters, so I really can't answer that. So keep in mind too, mate, like we saw there, Shooters Union posted a letter there written by a inspector from the Queensland Police, and so there's a lot of people who are police that are very, very pro-gun, and obviously enjoy shooting in their time off. So you can't taint everyone with the same brush. However, what I'm saying is my view there on weapons licensing is not a good one, because of the straight out misconduct, in my view, that I've seen and had done to me by members up there over the years. Next question I got here is from Simon. He says, hi Ozzie, I'm looking at getting a Steyr Pro cross bullpup. Have you ever had a play? And 177 verse 22 an air rifle. Can you give me the pros and cons of each? Well mate, I haven't had a play with it. I'm not an air gunner by any means. So yeah, my experience with air rifles is limited, although I know they're quite advanced these days, and obviously when you start talking about semi-auto air rifles, they can be a lot of fun. My thoughts on it is the 177 will obviously travel faster, okay, so you're going to have less arc. than what you will with a 22 caliber air rifle that's, you know, traveling obviously slower. So for me, when you're shooting with an air rifle, you've really got to take in consideration that arc, okay? So the trajectory, basically. It's not shooting like a rifle with the speed behind it. I know, yes, you can get some that are starting to get up there, but it's not like shooting a rifle. So your distances that you're shooting are a lot closer than, you know, than what you will shoot obviously with a you know, centerfire rifle, for example, even a rimfire rifle in most cases. So you've got to take that into consideration. So my preference would be for 177 caliber in an air rifle. So yeah, mate, it's completely up to you. I mean, if you're shooting at a fixed distance there and you know you'll drop basically with that 22 caliber air rifle, then sure, you can go for that. But my preference would be the 177 because it moves faster, and for what you're going to be shooting with an air rifle, yeah, the 177 should certainly do the job at those normal air rifle distances, which really is like from about 10 out to 30 yards. So yeah, I hope that helps you out. Okay, next question I got here is from Stu, and he says, hi Ozzie, will you be getting a preview of the Southern Cross Small Arms Taipan rifle? Now guys, if you haven't seen that rifle, it's a pump action centerfire rifle made here in Australia, I believe, and retails for under $2,000 or about $2,000. So that's the big selling point from what I'm reading. No, I haven't, mate. And look, I don't really reach out to companies. There are a couple that I will, and only because I know if I do a review, honestly, that they're not going to, you know, have sour grapes over it and start acting like children. And there's a lot of companies that do. They honestly believe if they lend you a firearm or they give you a firearm, that you must do the review pretty much how they want. That just doesn't work for me. I'll give you an example. I was approached by the importer for that Sulin Arms shotgun that is the Benelli M4 like copy. And I just wasn't interested in doing it. They offered it to me for free. Hey, if you review this, we'll give it to you for free. So, of course, you'll see some channels jumping on that. And but I just didn't, I'm not for sale. It's as simple as that. I just had no interest in it. I thought, I'm not interested in some copy of the Benelli. So, you know, there's a lot of firearms guys that I just knock back because I'm just simply not interested in reviewing them. So I'm not here as a puppet to companies to basically just sell their products for them. It just does not come into it. So yeah, so I won't be reaching out to them, but look, if I come across one of their rifles in the future, mate, I'll definitely give it a review. Okay, next question I got here is from Brad, and he says, hi mate, can you give us a summary of the incoming rule changes that you know of? So Brad, I'm not too sure whether you mean just here in Queensland or what we've been all talking about the last month, which is WA. In which case, it's that bad over there that reloading is going to be a thing of the past for licensed shooters there. And also even if you've got a schematic, in other words, exploded parts diagram for a firearm, I believe that's going to be an offence as well. My question about that, and nobody seems to be able to answer it, is what about when you get a user manual with a firearm? What do you usually find at the back of that user manual? An exploded parts diagram. So is all of a sudden every dealer going to have to take the user manual out of the box where the firearm gets delivered to the end user? And if so, what happens then legally if that user hurts themselves and they say, well, I wasn't able to access the user manual to read the safety rules on how to operate this firearm? I can see some big problems in WA. So that's all I know about that, Brad. As for Queensland, well, there's pushes constantly there, and at this stage it's mainly just policy and policy changes. So one of the big things now is with collector licenses, there's a push from weapons licensing to stop people from having operable Cat C firearms on a collector's license, which, you know, was never the intention of the license. When it was decided back in 1996, it was decided then that that was one of the exceptions where people could have semi-automatic firearms. And they didn't have to be permanently inoperable like a Cat D does on a collector's license. So there's pushes like that all the time, mate, and it's just continual and continual. And that's why we all need to vote as one and put politicians in power who can change this for us. Okay guys, that's it for this month's Q&A. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for those of you who submitted questions. So we'll catch you on the next review, and we'll also see you when the next Q&A comes out next month.